care about. And so to
Parmesan
be in
from
that
this place
position
is that good.
Oh, it did. Oh, hello there, and welcome to this special CitizenCon edition live stream here on Leadnap Gaming. I'm your host, Leadnap, and today we'll be talking all about the earlier CitizenCon panels, ship releases, and some of our own big reveals today here on the channel. I have with me the Leads Legion members to share their thoughts, and before I bring them in, just a quick reminder that to hit that subscribe button, share with your friends, and we have a great show lined up today with giveaways, discussion, and of course some Chris Roberts. Though it turns out, I guess, the keynote speech isn't actually going to happen based on that. So, good job screwing up your own schedule, CIG. But we'll go ahead and prompt our Leads Legion here for what their thoughts are, and what did you guys think about CitizenCon today? We'll start with you, DD.
1 second.
While we wait for you, sorry everybody about the technical glitches there. YouTube changed the settings, so it didn't actually start when we told it to start. All right, Dietrich, go.
Yep. So, my technical difficulties today are some chicken parmesan and penne from a little place called Uptown Food and Beverage Co. in Ankeny, Iowa. Recommend go and check it out. Now on to my thoughts on the panel. It was a lot more technical than I thought it was going to be. So any really coding nerds or people that like to really build stuff, probably fascinated from it. But as a filthy casual, it was kind of a slog. But it was very eye-opening to see what they actually do, how to build the stuff and everything like that. To use the term again, the slog that they actually have to go through to bring us the content that they're bringing us. That's my only stuff on that nature. Great side, I absolutely love the look of the 400i. Just, yeah, I already bought it, already own it. Waiting for 315 to come down so I can get in there and I start flying.
Yeah, well, we will definitely be talking about that today as well. So put a pin into that. Logi, any thoughts from you on today's panel?
Yeah, very much kind of the same where if you're new to Star Citizen, a lot of the technical details that they were, spouting out might have seemed pretty boring, but I really enjoyed it for the most part, since this is probably really the biggest in-depth look any of the Citizen Cons we've had so far that I remember on kind of the back end of creation of Star Citizen, since one kind of been a long time backer for a while, and a lot of it was always just kind of upfront pizzazz that would just kind of later translate to not even being put in game due to technical issues or just kind of a trailer type thing. So I really enjoyed the heavier back end look of what they are actually building, how they're building it, why they're building it, to really kind of explain their current stance on what's going on with the game build itself. Other than that, I guess I'm probably might go against the grain here, but I wasn't really that excited for the 400i. I don't know, it was just hasn't been a ship that was really appealing to me. When they showed it off, I thought it would have been a little bit taller than what it is, instead of kind of most of the shape being a really flat pancake except for the nose. But I will definitely say that for me, if we're talking about ships being sold off, the sneak peek at the Banu Merchantman was amazing, and I personally am really gung ho about the Liberator, because for the longest time, I always, we've had those issues of you leave a ship in a port or a hangar, and you have to fly all the way back, and the quickest way is always just to reclaim it, which problems, issues. So, and I always liked thinking of being a person being able to haul people's ships across the galaxy. So when they actually put out a ship like that for me, definitely really sold on it. Wish it was bigger, but yeah, that's my thoughts so far.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, we'll dive into the 400i here shortly. Martin, thoughts from you on the just CitizenCon as a whole today?
I've got to admit, being so isolated from all the CitizenCon so far, it's the first one I've been able to engage in at all. The content was really, really back-end heavy, and again, understanding probably about 5% what some of them were saying. I guess for me, knowing that they've been able to put in all these extra tools that possibly when I started backing in 2013, they didn't necessarily think they were going to be able to do. It's pretty cool and exciting, I must admit. I've just got to say, what was with the mugs? Man, the mugs.
Well, just so you know, this was for you. That was a late minute addition in my plan there for you. It was just to let you know. Maverick, any thoughts on the convention as a whole?
Sorry if I sound bad. I'm on mobile, but pretty much like Logi said, I like how it's not like it looks like they've matured into their own version of CitizenCon instead of trying to do what E3 does and just try to like showcase a bunch of stuff that isn't necessarily actually there. It's more scripted or CGI'd or whatever. It looked cool. I'm excited about trying out the 400i, even though I'm not gonna buy it. I'm just gonna ride in darks. And I don't know much about the Banu Merchantman. It's not really a ship that like has ever called my name. I mean, I'm excited for it. I'm actually like seeing the new version of it or like the updated version of it from the original shows how much like CIG has matured in their ship design. But I'm excited for it. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yep. So yeah, just on the whole for me, and to address a couple things, as well as what some people in the comments are saying here. I guess we'll go back to looking at me for this part, but when I looked at the schedule, which originally in 20 minutes Chris Roberts was supposed to give a keynote speech, I guess the big reveal happened earlier today, huh? But what made me happy about it, and there's some changes about how CitizenCon has usually run as an in-person event. There's a lot more time. I'm going to be like Tony Z here, moving my hands around, by the way. But there's a lot more time when it's in person. They have their seminars. Some of them are at the same time, though, so you have to pick and choose what you're going to listen to. But then there's breaks in between them. And my biggest complaint today really boiled down to I didn't like that. I mean, we rolled one after the next, after the next, after the next. And as someone who's trying to cover this from a media standpoint, wake up, get in front of the computer, start watching it, and like, do you need to go to the bathroom? Too bad. Need to make some food? Too bad. That was just, yeah, I'm sure Martin, though, probably enjoyed it since it started at, 3 o'clock in the morning for you?
Nah, she was a 1:30 start.
1:30. Okay, still super early in the morning, and not having breaks probably helped that because we'd probably just be now getting halfway through it. But I would like to have seen him break it up into 2 days. But the biggest thing I saw when I first looked at that was really, I was excited at the idea that this one didn't seem like it was packed full of feature demonstrations and future tech talk. The schedule and the titles all made it look very much like, what we're going to see today, everybody? We're going to see what they're working on right now, what's coming in 3.15 and 3.16. And I think this actually has such a large overhaul built into it. I kind of think it should have been a 4.0, but that's up for debate. But like I said, I was very impressed with today's show. Unfortunately, the one I wanted to see the most, I had to go to a soccer game in the middle of. So I didn't actually see the ship panel. So I'm going to be watching that later. So I'm going to be relying on the group here to kind of give their thoughts. And just because helps if you're looking at it, because I'm looking at it. So we're looking at it now. Limitless Adventure here. The ship that wasn't as weighted as a Carrack or the Merchantman, but if there was a ship people have been talking about, we're looking at it right now. So I guess again we'll start with you, Dietrich. But what are your guys' what excited you when they were showing it off in the very beginning of the ship panel, which I did get to see? Kind of what did you guys feel when you saw that?
I finally get to fly the Eclipse from Star Wars. It reminds me of like a prototype Star Destroyer, and I just find that to be awesome. And it's so sleek, like it's just gonna glide through the air, and it's so reminiscent of seafaring vessels with that fin up front. It appeals to me on a very deep level. So I am just like super psyched for it. The inside, it looks gorgeous. It's very open, be it a lot better laid out in utilization than like the 600 or the 800i, where things are just great big expanses, or like the cockpit for the 600, which is wide open. It's like, well, you guys could have did just a little bit more to make it look more practical, but at the same time, it's Origin, sorry. They're all about, well, just flaunting. It's like that, all that unused space. That's just like a status symbol. Like, yeah, I don't have to worry about space, so we're just gonna make this way bigger than it used to.
Well, and before I push Maverick for his thoughts here, there is something that we should remember in this, and that's that the 400 has the benefit of being designed in the new design system, whereas the 600, the 890 Jump, the 300s, both versions, are both in the original version of where they would come up with the concept, come up with the exterior, build it, and then do the interiors. And what we see here in this sleek kind of shape is that interior first, blocking that out, figuring out what they need, where it should go, and then bringing on the exterior. And so it's a much cleaner shape. But Maverick, what are your thoughts?
In reference to the 400i, I like it. I see the appeal behind it. I really like that flight deck and the view that you get from it. Like, it's not really a 360-degree view, but it's pretty good, like for a ship. I really like, one thing I really liked about the 100 series is the fact that you can enter and exit the ship like extremely easy, and it seems like they're taking that concept and putting it into the 400 with the stairs entrance.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the forced ladder or anything like that animation. Sometimes I don't really like elevators because sometimes we have issues with elevators. But yeah, I mean, I am excited for it. I probably won't buy it, mostly because I have a good enough fleet where there's no room for the 400i. Like, in necessity, like the only reason I would buy it is just to spend at this point.
Yeah.
But I am gonna buy it with in-game once the wipe comes in, because I think that there should be like a 3-month hiatus before we get the 400 to buy in game. So I will definitely probably buy it in game, grind towards it.
Yeah. All right. Now, before I go to Low G, a question to all of you guys, and he'll get the first crack to answer it. Does it bug you that, and mind you, the 890 Jump is similar, but because it's a lot larger, it doesn't feel this way. Does it bug you, though, that the view out the window is less Origin-like than anything else. You know, the 600, you've got that beautiful bubble. I'm actually a huge fan of that. The 300, same thing. The canopy, you keep looking up and it just keeps going and going and going. And then, like I said, the 890, it has a boat window like this, but it's so much larger, you don't feel that constraint. And I guess something to marinate on. And, you know, Logi, you're going to get the first crack at this as well as just your overall thoughts on the 400. But does it bug you that this breaks that mold?
I guess coming from a person who ended up making, I guess, what, my first million in game off the back of a freelancer, not so much. I've gotten way too used to such a cramped view. It doesn't really, bother me as much. Sure. I feel it's more due to the sleeker aesthetics of the ship itself, where most of the other origin ships, I wouldn't say have a really unique. Well, they do have a unique design, but there's not, in my mind, a solid template where the 600's characteristics uh, follow over extremely harshly to the 890, and then the also an owner of a 300 series and a 100 series. I can see where the 100 and 300 kind of share compatibility, but the 600 is definitely a very big step in a different design direction. And I feel the 400, at least the cockpit view and the look, definitely one shows the maturity and the new design where they're able to make a double decker ship that's compact and doesn't take up space. And also just, I feel like, even though most people say that the 890 is the super yacht, I definitely say the 400 probably looks the most, boat or yacht-ish of the Origin series, in my opinion.
I'm with Dietrich. I actually went and bought one, so I've kind of committed. However, is it something I want to fly, or is it a stepping stone to a 600i? And that's going to come from how does it handle? Because it's not a cuddy and it's not a connie, but it's about what you'd fly a cuddy for. So I want it to be super maneuverable and completely wipe that ship off the face of the earth when it comes to how it handles. Because the cuddy's a bit average to drive. Everything else she's beautiful for, but yeah. As far as the cockpit's concerned, you can see it was a compromise in the aesthetics. So to get that sleek profile, they've had to cut something down. It's going to have to be that visibility out the cockpit. We managed to watch Cinemane earlier before the stream, and he was showing us through a walkthrough that he just got in one of the arena commanders. The ship itself is absolutely gorgeous. The inside is so well done, and they've squeezed so much into that ship that I just want to like it. I'm not sure I'm gonna like it as much as it possibly deserves.
Matthew, go first.
Sorry, everyone's letting me know that there's no audio from me on that. So let me.
There goes everything.
Yep, let me quickly take us back to what I was saying. So, sorry everybody that missed the audio there. We're having all kinds of technical issues today, and it partly stems from CIG changing their schedule. Anyways, what I was saying was, for me, one of the things I think is really cool is, because I live in a landlocked state, I don't see a lot of boats, but you know, when you look at someone's boat and you're like, oh yeah, they got like a bridge and maybe a little room or something like that, and it's not much, but then you go onto the boat, my mother-in-law has a boat, and it's got this whole lower compartment, and you look at it, you're like, how is all of that in that hull? And when you look at this, if you didn't know better, you would almost think that this just had one deck, like it was some sort of 1950s spaceship, where you had the bridge and like the bed and the bathroom and all of it inside of this kind of like top 360-degree view bubble, and then the ship just sits underneath. And it's like, no, there's two decks here. Like, there is a lot packed into this ship, and in a lot of ways is true in Star Citizen. The ships are so much bigger than we think they are when we look at them, until you see them in scale. As I try to get back to, come on, this is the most, it's beautiful, but it's not a very good, effective way to look at the ship. Oh, it was above it. Hold on. As I was saying before, like, you don't feel like there's this much space inside. So back to Maverick and then Dietrich, if you guys had anything on the bridge before we move on content-wise here.
Well, I thought the bridge looked good. I am curious, though, because they did say that it's going to be an exploration ship, but I didn't see any exploration equipment on. Sorry, I didn't see any exploration equipment on it. And then they did say it's an exploration ship. There was no radar, no antenna, stuff like that that I can visibly see. So that's just like pretty much like the MSR or like the Carrack. So that just has me curious as to what kind of exploration you can do on it.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry if I'm cutting out. I'm on mobile.
Well, and that's actually hopefully I'm not cutting Dietrich off here, but that's actually also just a really good segue into something that had come up for me earlier on in the morning. And this is something I talked about in our last stream. Come on, you can get in focus. Maybe. See, this is, I told you all, technical difficulties. So this was something that I had mentioned, was talking about earlier in the morning with in my Argo stream about creep. And when I had mentioned the Argo, you know, I had brought up the fact that here we are, the Argo cargo is supposed to be the most prevalent ship in the verse. Like, you shouldn't be able to throw a rock without hitting one sort of a ship. And the Argo cargo, you don't see it on the cargo decks. You don't see them buzzing around cargo stations. Like, there are none of them at the shipyards on Crusader, right? So there's none of them. And the same sort of thing happens here, right? Where we were told, oh, well, the Aquila, the 600, they have to have this exploration fleet suite, the Freelancer Dur, you know, all these different ones. It is really bugging me that this is not focusing. And it doesn't have a lens for me to focus. So we're going to take the view. Oh, we can't take the view off me yet. I don't have an image for this. But one of the things that was bugging me is when we were looking at the derelict stations in the very first panel, and they were showing us, oh, well, and, you know, these big repair apparatus cranes that, you know, are part of the whole repairs of things like that. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, what's the Vulcan? What happened to the drones that the Carrack carries as well to do all these? Like, we have all this lore. We have ships you have literally sold us to conduct repairs. But then you're over here showing us, oh no, it's just cranes. just like the cargo decks. We don't use Argo cargos. We just sold you those. And so, not to seem pessimistic about it, but it's that creep that I always talk about, where it's like they don't quite remember some of the ideas they originally had. And the 400i shows off just another example of that, right? It just shows off another, oh yeah, it's an exploration ship. Does it have advanced scanners? You don't need those for exploration. What about a scanning suite or exploration station? For what? Oh, what about a research lab or something like the Reliance? Nah. Endeavor? We don't have one of those. That thing's not coming for a while, so we're not too worried about ideas we told you had to be involved in that, and that's just a major concern of mine. But kind of shifting the topic along, and as much as I'd love to push if anyone on the panel has a quick thought on that, go ahead and kind of put it out now before we move on to the next creeping thing.
I got it if you don't mind. Anybody?
Yeah, jump in.
So should be able to tie all three of my thoughts into this in one go. The 400i, it strikes me like not a speedboat per se, but one of those racing boats with the dual fins on the back or the front. And so it's like the bridge and everything, it seems like it's cut down just to get that very small profile because it's built just to go through things. Whereas 890, that thing is a cruise ship, so it's built like a cruise ship. Then you have your 600i, which is like your yachts and stuff, so it's built and designed to be of that. Your 100i, like your canoes, whatever. They have that theme going, so it doesn't seem too far of a stretch like the Mustang to the Nomad for consolidation, something. Moving forward. Darn it, I lost it.
Well, while you're
Your last little bit there. The ship, it does not strike me like a Carrack. It's not going to be able to fill that kind of slot, or like the 600i exploration. To me, this strikes me as someone who took one of those speedboats, hollowed out a little bit more, instead of putting reinforcement in, put in some bunks, put in some bed. Now he's going out there on the ocean for speed and going for cruise. It's like, yeah, label it as an exploration ship, but really all you do is going to cruise through the skies, through the space, going from place to place, but not any pathfinding kind of an ordeal. I mean, you're not going out there to push the boundaries to map stuff. You're just going from Hurston to Microtech, and you're going to hit a couple moons, maybe a couple stations, maybe an asteroid belt. You might want to try to navigate one of those, but nothing truly groundbreaking or pushing the edge or the envelope of anything.
Yeah. Well, and one point to make on that too. One, in the comments it was pointed out they do have one of those globe viewer things, so there potentially is a station in there in the back that I haven't seen, and most of us didn't see when Sent did his tour. With that said, though, one of the other things that we sometimes forget about is there's not a lot of documentation. That said, there are different types of explorers, right? The Carrack is a jump point explorer. So what it was meant for in its current iteration, remembering that it is originally a military ship, and then they were turned into exploration ships. Their job is to scan down find jump points. Now, then you've got ships like the Freelancer DUR and the Corsair, which are in themselves not... Or actually, let's back up and we'll hit the Aquila first. Right, then you have the Aquila, which is kind of a system explorer. It looks for planets, it looks for things like that. And then you get into your Corsairs, your Freelancers, these smaller ships, probably even at this point your 400. And those are for planetary exploration, right? The ship that you know where the planet is. You don't need a big suite. You're going somewhere known, but uncharted. And now you're going to check it out, to go look at and see, explore, name the mountains, so on and so forth. So... I bring that up just again to make the point that, right, it's not a competitor to the Carrack. The Carrack is built as a ship that you would literally probably stay on for years at a time going deep into space looking for a jump point. Whereas we get back over to like a 400 and you're probably looking at like living on this thing for, you know, a week or two as you go explore a new world. But otherwise you're coming back to civilization. You're coming back to a bigger ship. So, but with this said, I am going to be doing a 400 video, kind of putting all this together, putting some other thoughts on the 400. You might want to wait to buy one until I put that video out. But before I go any further than that, what I do want to bring up is we've got our first Lead Paint Club giveaway. Now, today's Lead Paint Club giveaway, this one, is sponsored by Dark Peak Entertainment, who, you know, not saying anything here. But it's the, we're going to give away the 3-paint paint pack for the Origin 400i. So with that said, we'll just do this the way we always do this on the stream. Let's go for best lead puns in the comments. Like I said, this is for that 3-pack. Oh, you know what? Better than that, we can... There's screens in the way here. This isn't usually how I have it. But yeah, so you're going to get... I don't know which ones it is. But you can see here we've got various paints for the 400i. Do keep in mind that CIG sucks at doing black. It did not look like this in the game. I still thought it looked really good in the game, though. So, alrighty. With that in mind, let's shift our discussion, everybody, to the elephant in the room. And when I say elephant, I don't mean the big obnoxious thing that we're all trying to ignore, but rather the big, beautiful thing in the room that we all can't wait to get into the verse. And of course, I mean the Banu Merchantman. Now, a little background before we hit the panel on this one. This is a ship that I have regularly told people is an investment ship. This is one of those, you bought Bitcoin back when it first came out, when it was a couple dollars a coin. That's what this ship is. And, you know, oh, hold up. We're doing weird things. There we go. And what I'm really excited to see, so as they kind of mentioned in the stream, and again, I missed the stream portion of this, so please bear with me that I'm running on this all secondhand and what I was able to kind of catch in the background. But they're calling this the kind of 3.0 version. And I'm very excited for it because I did a video a short while back, and in that video, CitizenCon led me to this stream. I like it, Murdex. I did a video a while back kind of talking about the Banu Merchantman and bringing up the idea that, you know, this thing started out Connie-sized. Wasn't very big, small crew, blockade runner type ship. And then we got the kind of lore elements that were like, oh no, these are like family heirlooms. They're passed down in Banu families. Like the whole family would live on this thing, kind of a thing. And it got a bazaar and it got all this stuff, but we had the old blueprints and nobody knew, where are you going to fit this stuff? It's not that big. So I'm really excited, I think most of all, to see that they enlarged the ship to put what they promised into it instead of saying, well, we changed our minds or we deleted that idea. One of the biggest things they added that was not in until today was never a part of the Banu Merchantman. Beyond being told, it has a symbiotic relationship with the Banu Defender. But symbiotic relationship, they never went into detail on it. And they never told us, like, does it like dock like a snub does on a Connie? Does it share shields? Because they both use the Phalanx shield system from the Tavarans. So, you know, we never really knew what that meant. And today they showed us. So many windows open on this computer at the moment. Can I get a change, please? There we go. It got a hanger. Look at that beauty. So at this point, I'm going to toss it. We're going to go backwards this time. So Martin, thoughts on the Banu Merchantman?
Yeah, I've got to agree with you. It was one of those ships I wish I had forked out for early on, because it's an investment ship. As far as its content, its size increase, everything that's gone along its entire journey, I don't think anything's been lost with the concept the way they've. In fact, it probably feels better now than it did when they first described it to us.
Yep. Low G, thoughts?
I would also have to agree. What I really like the most, and they finally did it, is you know, gave us a better detailed floor plan of the Banu. Because before they came out with some stuff, but it was a lot of tentative blockiness, and with finally them cranking out the final details, it's looking really really nice, and I'm gutted that I didn't get it back when I could have gotten it. Because damn, I remember God skipping out on it, and I think I picked up the Retaliator around the same price point as the Banu back then, and I'm just gutted for not getting this. I mean, I'm still a Retaliator fan. I love that thing, but yeah, no, I definitely regret every single Xeno sell event. I just never picked this thing up. Partially because I was low on money all the time, couldn't spend on Star Citizen. But yeah, no, she looks absolutely beautiful, and just kind of the design aesthetic inside of just saying, hey, this is a luxury item, is amazing.
So what you're saying is
So,
none
yeah.
of you guys actually listened to the content I put out telling you to buy one of these.
I
I
did.
might have gotten a CCU upgrade.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I want to hear right there. Maverick, thoughts?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not. When it comes down to alien ships, I don't really have any, and I don't really fly them, or so I don't have like an educated opinion or outlook. Like I haven't educated myself enough on it to give a good opinion. I'm just gonna wing this one out.
Okay. Dietrich, the only other merchantman owner in the room, apparently.
Yeah, I told myself I'd have like one big ship just to have a big ship. This was the least expensive out of all of them, and it seems to have the most utility. So it's like, you know what? And it's like you were saying in your video, it's gonna skyrocket. It's gonna skyrocket. So like, screw it. I'll go ahead buy a CCU for it. Well, they're cheap. So I bounced off a C2, got it for like $50, and we're good. My thoughts on it: it is like one of those apartments you see out in like Japan and stuff. You open up a cupboard and something folds out. Oh, that bookshelf, that actually folds down into a table. There's so many little things tucked away in this. If the hanger opens up, shit pops out. The front, yes, things, panels that slide back, out pop your guns. There's so much going on. It is thoroughly impressive, and I'm happy I got it when I got it.
Yeah. So, and on that note, I want to talk a little bit about some of the alien-esque moments here. And if you guys bear with me, I'm gonna leave it on this image because I'm gonna go try to find another one.
I gotta go for work real quick, but I'll be right back. I'll be in chat though.
Yep. So for everybody that doesn't remember, and I'm specifically bringing this image up now. So one, of course, as Maverick said, the alien ships aren't his thing, and it's weird to me because on the one side they really aren't my thing, but then at the same time, I love the Tavaran ones. I have a Banu merchantman, so maybe I'm just lying to myself about this. But one of the things that comes up in this, and I'm going to pose this question here in just a moment to our panel. Actually, you know what? We're going to do this in the opposite direction because I want to pose the question to our viewing audience in the YouTube chat here. I just need to get back to my window here. So, it's interesting. On the one side, it's almost like they had to wait to make the merchantman till nowish, because one of the things that they've regularly talked to us about is the Banu take from everybody. And they take the best technology from everybody and they put it into their ships. And so the new Raylan kind of transmorphing tech, right? We're now seeing in the Banu merchantman. We're seeing an awful lot of it. And of course they would take, that's some awesome tech. So of course they're going to take that and put it into their ship. And we don't even see that in the Defender, which now is going to have to get an update pass. Everything gets update passes though, but you know, that's going to change that ship. But in that same regard, a question, and I'm curious, and like I said, I'm sending this out to our commenting audience on YouTube here. I want your opinions. But one of the questions I've got for you as I bring this up, so right now we're looking at the current hallway design Banu look. Okay. The question I have, particularly for people who already own these, that were very excited about this, but this is what that hallway was supposed to look like. Right? The Banu were the MC Escher inspired alien race. And what we have now, right, this isn't Escher-esque at all. This is very organic. Now, again, when the Defender came out, there was all this organic talk. And I'm not saying I don't like this, but my question really to kind of the group here and what I'm interested in knowing is, does it bug you that we don't have this hallway anymore? You know, does it bug you that the Escher-esque, that kind of dark, I mean, like you look at the floor detail, the kind of grates and stuff like that. I mean, this was very Escher-esque, and I know I like a lot of Escher's work, so I was very excited that we were going to have a ship in Star Citizen that did that. And now it looks like this, the opposite of Escher. But I'm still a fan. Don't get me wrong. My other concern looking at this, and we have a human for scale, the Banu are a lot taller than we are. This ship does not reflect that, and that concerns me. So let's go ahead and read. Rigadin's moving in for a lead here with your luck lead is flexible, because that was a stretch. But yes, interested to kind of see here. Now, the crew quarters, I don't think John Boyd brings up that they didn't really show us the crew quarters or anything like that. I highly doubt they are going to be, and this is why right here. This is the mess, and given the blueprint they gave us, the bedrooms are part of this space as well, conceivably. And I say that because, let's back up real quick to see, we can see here, we've got our mess, hab, and med all as one. So here's that room that we were just looking at right there. Now, the original Merchantman, the beds were literally right here off the bridge. So, at the same time, just the whole ship, the language of the ship itself, if I can get, yeah, can we get back to her? Like, you look at this now, this has lost its Escherized quality. And again, to be clear here, I love how this is looking. And this would have been very difficult to do Escherize. So I'm not sad the Escher looks gone. I'm just curious if other people feel that way. And I don't know, panelists, if you guys are feeling any part of that too.
Okay, so coming at it from someone who doesn't own one and probably isn't going to own one now, but looking at it from a more mechanical standpoint, I think the direction they've gone does seem to float that line between what we understand of practicality of possible spaceflight versus that alien organic feel that, like you said, you see in the Defender. Yes, the other picture was gorgeous, don't get me wrong, but the practicality just really didn't fit.
Yeah, Murdax82 brings up the point here that it used to look a lot more menacing. And again, I'm happy with this. I actually really like it. And in fact, one of the remarks I made to another merchantman owner who will hopefully be able to show up here before the end of the stream, and that would be Darkosis. This thing makes the 890 look pretty pedestrian. I mean, even look at this bridge. And again, while we're looking at that, I'm going to try to bring up, try to keep this. I'm going to try to bring up some of the other pictures here. Just to get an idea of what, the bridge concept for the Merchantman was. It's a bummer because I've got these saved. I pretty much zipped the file that had all of these pictures in it yesterday. We're gonna, let's see here, open image, new tab. I'm just trying to find how small the bridge. Wow, way to just really help me out here.
Hell yeah.
Happy to help.
I don't mean you guys, I meant, here we go. Open.
That's a really fancy shirt that you got there, Led. Where do you get one from?
Thank you. Well, it's funny you mentioned that. And I guess it's time. I was going to try to save this baby. Give me one moment to hide that. Oh, well, we got to wait just a moment because that reminds me I need to make one change before I do it.
Plug.
Plug. Yes, we are working on a merch store. It was supposed to already be live, but you can get a beautiful hat like this one. A nice polo shirt like mine, quality drinkware, and all kinds of other great stuff. But with that said, one of the things that we are launching today, very excited about this, with CitizenCon, is the new Leadnap.com Leadnap gaming website. And you can see right there on your screen, merch soon. Unfortunately, there's a slight issue with with how the store was set up, so I have to kind of get a couple things changed around before I can make it public to you guys to go in and get your merch. But the site's up. You can do fun things with your mouse on the slider there, but all kinds of great stuff. If I can get my mouse back here, it's great because you can go in. It gives me a little extra room to put together. Our latest updates is a little behind sometimes. But for example, ship purchasing, you can go here and see all the videos I've done on purchasing ships, how to buy them, considerations when buying them, and of course, how to upgrade, the video we did just a little while back. So great resource for you guys there. Again, for those of you guys on here, and I got two of you, so it's, we've got our DCS content here. We got our Legacy Vigan tutorials. We got our S2 series. And then one of the exciting things is you scroll down. If it'll let us scroll down, it's not gonna, as we have some resources, those will be coming in soon as well. We got our awesome hardware reviews. This thing is, it's not this slow in real life. It's the stream software we're watching it through. We got our hardware reviews and one of my favorite pages right here, the Leads Legion page. And what's great about this one is you come in here, you can see who our Leads Legion members are by their rank. And if you want your name to appear behind one of those ranks, head on over to patreon.com, sign up, help support the channel, help support us having a website, having a merch store, and other great content like this. So like I said, soon enough, you guys will be able to get your merch from our merch store, get a nice fancy shirt like mine. It's a very nice shirt. It's a very comfortable shirt. Some of our higher tiered Legion members have some of our demo swag from trying out the vendor. So membership has its perks. All right, so as I was talking about before my shameless plug there, was we've got this bridge. And just looking at this, we've got, look at the like shape of the room and the bridge. I mean, this thing is massive. This is like the atrium of the 890. It's huge. It's gorgeous. And then you look at what the concepts were. I'm gonna bring this baby back up here. You know, so wow, that is tiny. We'll be talking about that room in a moment. Really? You couldn't open in... Oh, this is so frustrating. See, I really meant to be more prepared on this topic. Wow, you just... It totally changed while I was talking.
Oh.
But, you know, so here's the original design. And like I said, there's the beds, right? And here's the kind of... Look how narrow... We didn't want to click on that. Open image in new tab. Zoom in. Look how narrow the top was back in the day. And John Boyd's got a Liberator question. Don't worry, sir. We will be getting to those. And then now you look at that. I mean, that's going to be an experience to fly that thing. It feels like a capital ship now, just with this big sweeping openness and the stairs. So I'm very excited, and I don't want to spend forever on this. Keep those lead puds going in there. So, you know, one of those things that we tried to look at was the boardroom. And I'm interested to know, this is the new one. It's not gold gilded, but it's a lot bigger. It's got that kind of open windowy bridge thing that the old one still had, and you can still see the guy standing up there. Anybody have... This is tricky because Dietrich's the only merchantman owner on here, and you didn't really buy it because you have an affinity for it, like some other people did. But how do you feel about the changes to the new?
Honestly, they're transitioning from it being a very alien look to looking more like it's human designed. That part I don't quite like. Like the bridge before, sure, it was humans, we perceive that as menacing, but it's a completely different species, a completely different race with different culture, different things. Like the Defender was crustacean-like.
Mm-hmm.
It was supposed to look like a crab. To us, that's extremely alien. There's beauty there that they would see that we don't, because it wasn't made for us. So to watch them kind of transition it from what it used to be to what it is now, it looks like it's being more humanized, which I don't necessarily want in an alien ship.
See, and that's an interesting take, because it's a little different than mine. I still very much look at the image we're looking at now, and I still feel like, and again, we're talking about a race who take things from other races and mesh them all together. So this still has that very organic feel inside, which makes me happy, but it just... The grandeur of this, what I appreciate is that it doesn't have a 1920s gilded feel. I almost feel kind of the opposite, that this is moving us more towards a less human ideal of beauty, right? Like we've got these kind of gold glowing lights on the wall, but we don't have like gold paneling everywhere that the old one had. That was a very much kind of Turkish display or what have you. So, thank you, Logi, for for bringing
Yeah.
that cockpit image up for me. I was just too slow to see it. So, but like I said, I don't want to spend forever on the merchantman. I'm glad to see the bazaar came in, and this is just another example. You know, if you go look at the old bazaar images, which pretty sure we had one on the on here right quick, but the old bazaar, right here. Whoa, that's zoomed in. This had a very, I like to call it Mogadishu feel, and I have to admit, this looks much more, it matches better. It feels a lot nicer. So, so Kishkin asks in here, did they address its crew size increase with the changes? I mean, we know it's got a bigger crew, but they haven't given us like a Q&A sort of a whole lot of things to know. But as I was saying, and again, this is just a, yeah, so those are images, but you know, here's a captain's cabin aboard. Just, I'm liking how it looks, and this thing is going to be a monster in size. Its cargo capacity is incredible. Feel free to talk about the merchantman for the rest of the weekend. Yeah, I mean, I'm just incredibly happy with it. But let's transition here to a different ship. This one, we talked a little during CitizenCon, those of us at the Leadnap Gaming watch party. We talked about this one. This one has a much more functional website as well. So, Liberator. And again, Martin, I'll start with you.
This one's probably the most interesting out of all three for me, because having been a player of one of the other large space sim MMO style games over the last 15 years, one of the biggest constraints for that game was getting your inventory from one station, which tended to be your home station, to wherever you wanted to be. If you were shifting or if you were mining somewhere else, it was that transport. Now, you tended to have to do it on your own. You could get right contracts. So I can see the Liberator being used phenomenally, heaps, just trying to get little fighters from, and it's not just going to be the two systems, it's going to be all the systems we can expand to. And people aren't going to want to do it themselves all the time. They're going to want to contract somebody else to be able to do it.
G?
Yeah, go ahead and kind of continue off that. Because at the current moment, and what's at least been happening, and the quickest way to get a lot of your ships is to always go and claim it, and obviously you would still have to pay a premium if you want it quicker. And I feel in a way that was a stopgap measure, because in all technicality, you paying that fee is similar to paying somebody to have them bring in a Liberator, load it up on their ship, and then fly it out to where you are, or having it flown out from where you are to somewhere else. And I definitely see that this is a step in my opinion, a right direction to start kind of getting something other than a SCU of cargo from point A to point B, and especially with the pyro system, I wouldn't say around the corner, because even though they said yes, it's going to come out at 4.0, we don't know when 4.0 is going to drop. They didn't give us a date, and we don't even know how close or far away they are from server meshing. Just the the tech that they're building was just at least on display this time around.
Yeah, not to be mean, but 2 years ago they told us it was coming in 4.0.
Yeah, pretty much. It's
different
like,
4.0, but yes.
Yeah. Anywho, but definitely for a lot of individuals who, I mean, even going their own Discord, for ship fleets that people have. A lot of people own very, very small ships because one, they are at a very lower price point right now. Bounty hunting is extremely lucrative in terms of money, especially with cargo broken for the longest time. Having a Liberator, getting those ships into a system, since again, the jump point was going to be at the edge of the Hurston system, and most of those small snub ships can't even, not small snub ships, but light fighters can't even get to Microtech from Lorville, which, I mean, how are they going to get, to the next system over? Good luck. So I definitely see the Liberator as something that is really required to kind of be put through. I may have slight reservations on the design. I know they took really heavy inspiration from the hovercraft landers of USA military, blah blah blah. But I just, at least for me, it is definitely a ship I want to pick up. Also for the sheer fact that I do own several light fighters, and sometimes you equip them out, or you have to start traveling around for equipment, and not every single gun is going to be sold at the same store. I mean, we see it in our current iteration, where you just kind of have to fly around a little bit. But obviously, as the universe gets bigger, maybe those types of specialty guns will start getting thrown out wider and wider. So you would need to take ships that you've spawned in certain areas and have something to carry them along to take them to a separate point to get that better outfitted of guns, equipment, shields, what have you. So that's just kind of my brief take of it. I really enjoy the concepts. I really enjoy the direction the Liberator is pushing Star Citizen towards, and it's definitely a ship that I am currently itching to pick up. So yeah.
Real quick before I have you go, Dietrich, I wanted to bring up just a couple things, and this will be an opportunity for Dietrich to bring them up, but also just kind of also going back in from the chat here, because we've got a handful of people bringing up in the chat. So the whole series are not able to transport ships. The way their expandable cargo grid works, it has to be in an SCU container to be carried. So really, aside from the Hercs, this is really the first shipping game that will allow you to transport vehicles. And aside from the Kraken or an Idris, transport a lot of these fighters. Now, of course, I'm leaving out ships like the Polaris that are capable of carrying a fighter. But really, this is a ship, I would expect it to have industrial components. It's really intended to go, just as the website says here, long range and quickly. It's a transport thing, and it is one of those things, and I've talked with a lot of you guys on Discord about this. In EVE, you would just pay somebody to take your ships from whatever system to whatever system, because you weren't going to fly your light fighter there if you could just pay someone else to do it. And I really do think this fills a good role. So we're going to circle back to that, but I did want to get Dietrich's thoughts before we continue rolling forward here.
Hey, well, I was about to have nothing to say on it, so I wasn't going to grab it, but going the EVE route, thank you for pulling me back into this conversation. As a freighter pilot from EVE, I do like this, and it does bring up a few options. Like, you have plenty of just commodity transport, but not a whole lot of vehicle transport, let alone, to get more specific, aircraft. Like, speculation, Caterpillar might be able to hold a few arrows or something, be able to pop its sides open, release the bees. Then there was, I'm probably not going to name it right, the Kraken? Is that the one that can have the... Yes. Okay, so, but that's supposed to be a specific carrier, right?
I mean, it's a $2,500 carrier, so... Or no, I'm thinking the... where is it?
Javelin.
Yeah, I'm thinking the Javelin there. Sorry,
Yeah,
1,500.
Yeah, this is like second ship you'll be able to get. This one is more air quotations budget at $500. But there's speculation that during the stream I brought up, it's like, okay, it has no defenses. Well, what if you throw a couple of ballista on it, a Nova tank up front? Now you have how many torpedoes, a bunch of pretty decent sized missiles, and then you also got the tank that has a decent cannon, so you could still bring it depending on what its shields are like, what its hull's like, to make it combat viable. But going back to the freight transporting the ships, it's going to be nice. It's going to open up an avenue of play that a lot of people are going to enjoy. I'm not going to partake of it, but I understand why people want it and why it's going to have a very popular niche.
You know, and so I'll kind of segue off of that, and it fills a very, very critical role that we've not had in the verse until now. So I'm very happy that we're getting it now. One of the biggest issues I have with it as a ship is that we're getting a military landing craft. Now, I've done videos on this. I will continue to do videos on this. I know what our production queue looks like. I'll cheat here and throw that up there. Right. I know what the production queue looks like, and I know what some of the stuff we've got coming is. And one of the things that concerns me is we're buying ships on the belief that, oh man, we're going to have these amazing planetary landings like the Hercules commercial. We're not. Yet we keep getting all of these military landing craft like this thing, which is going to look great in Squadron 42. Not for you to fly it, but just to have them going in with you, you know, for some of the episodes and stuff like that. And that's great. But my concern with it is it's made by Anvil. It's a military ship. Why? Right? The civilian marketplace is desperately the one we needed in, and I really would have liked to have seen a version of this that was made not to be a military landing ship. And again, people are going to argue with that and say, well, it doesn't really matter. It could still look like a, you know, it practically looks like a civilian ship anyways, right? But we look at its marketing material. This is what we're looking at, right? Like, this is what we're getting it for. And as someone asked, are they going to make a mining support version? Why not? Right? Like, why are we not getting one of these? One, it should be made by Argo. But two, and this totally could be made by Argo, right? Like, tell me you guys can't see that in its body language. But for mining operations or something like that, I mean, you could even throw a giant refinery rig or something in there. So that's kind of its price point is a major problem for me. To ask people to pay this kind of money for the ship is a problem for me, and I'm going to tell you right now why it costs that, and your reason is right here. That's 22 meters longer than a Perseus. Just so we're clear on how big this ship really is, because some of these images, it doesn't look very big. You plop it next to a Cuddy Black like this, and you don't think it's very large. In fact, I do appreciate this image because it does give us an idea of the scale. It's quite wide, and this is just an A2. It's actually probably in this case a C2 or M2 size, but it's just the bay from one of those. But instead of having the giant humpback for life support, they lopped that off, dropped some pads onto it, and then gave us everything squished on the sides. So, like I said, I mean, I like it. I'm glad it's in the game, but from a wallet standpoint, for me, this is a hard pass to buy with real currency. This is an in-game buy for me. But I do think that people that did spend that kind of money on one of these, and I'll let you guys say in a moment if you want to, if you did, but if you did buy one of these, this is actually going to be, I think, a very good moneymaker, not in the PvE economy, but, you know, just like you guys were saying earlier, you know, bounty hunting is lucrative. But if you're trying to move a group of bounty hunter ships, you would rather them just move on one of these, right? Just pay someone else, because otherwise you're going to be flying them all the way across all these different systems to get to all these different jump points, right? We're getting durability in, you know, and wear and tear into the game. So that's going to be a lot of repairs. That's going to be a lot of gas that you don't want to make. And this is going to be a excellent moneymaker, I think. So it's super expensive in my opinion, like painfully expensive, but I do have to say that if you did buy one, I think it is going to be a really good moneymaker. So I'll let you guys, any final thoughts on it, feel free to mention if you did take the plunge on one. So
I guess we can go down the line again. I guess I'll go first then, because I have personally, I have a lot of strong opinions about this as soon as it came out and the possibilities. As I know, someone was saying, you know, it might be a nice support for something like a Kraken, since the Kraken, a lot of people kind of speculated, and I mean, even for something like an Idris, where this is your kind of mainstay base out in space, especially if you're running stuff like bounties, where you're trying to run an operation, catch people in kind of far deep, you know, star systems. You might need, you know, the support. You might need extra areas where to store, you know, banged up, damaged ships, maybe impounded ships, or stole, you know, or ships that you manage to acquire through maybe not so legal means, and just be able to, you know, move them from place to place, base to base, you know, stuff like that. The other thing too was, sure, the downside is just like the Kraken, the ships are on, you know, the outside, but it might also be kind of a upside as well, since one, you have that internal cargo space for, you know, ground vehicles, or maybe an area for repairs, stuff like that. But the outside storage area allows also for something like a crucible. I saw some people talking about crucibles in chat, and yes, while the crucible itself does have a kind of a cargo container, it can only really fit one small ship. The upside of the crucible is that's detachable for it to fly alongside, you know, the larger vessels like Idris's javelins, and, you know, and do external repairs. Well, you could easily have a crucible, you know, above this thing, where, you know, parked however you want, and work on outside repairs on small ships. And this can, in theory, obviously very expensively, be, you know, just kind of this docking station where your group or org will kind of bring in their light fighters after a large fight, land them down, and you actually have kind of a working queue of, you know, repairs kind of going. And as they, you know, come off the assembly line, fly them over to your Idris, Javelin, not Perseus, but Polaris, or even the Pegasus, which originally was going to be my beautiful ship of the verse, because I wanted to turn that light carrier into actually what this ship is, a ship carrier, kind of a cargo ship carrier, and just taking large amounts of military and non-military vessels from one section of space to, you know, deep other sections of space, and just kind of, obviously, you know, having them pay for such a journey and the fuel costs and protection costs, etc., etc. But for me, right now, I don't have the money to instantly pick this one up, at least for the $500 price point. Although I can easily liquidate some of my current vehicles to pick up something like the concierge packages or whatnot. since I do need a lot more LTI space. But just for the sheer fact of the, in my mind, this is, I think, a little more worthwhile buy. I feel like the price of this ship might start going up just a bit more. Obviously, it does increase after, every concept sale, but we might see it become a little more lucrative as people start figuring out really weird, unique ways to use the ship, and always having an ability to store vessels and ships is, especially with the incoming, the upcoming localization stuff that's happening. We're gonna need all the space we can get at that point, and I feel like this ship is gonna be a very big accommodation for it. So
Yeah. Dietrich, thoughts?
I'm personally not going to get one. I can see a few reasons why people would. When it comes to actually being in the verse, I imagine that these will be escorting a lot of big ships. Probably on every Orion fleet, there's going to be one of these, and maybe like a Perseus or something like that. Maybe a couple search and rescue or emergency repairs, stuff like that. People have a few of them going. I can't personally justify that kind of money on a ship that's going to be as pigeonholed as this. In game, if I ever want to get back into the freighter business, I'd probably spend in-game currency on it. I about called it ISK. In-game purchase, probably for people that want to get into this career field. Save your cash, though.
Yeah. Martin, thoughts?
Yeah, like I said at the start, I see it as one of the most important stepping stones for where I think the non-combat play of the game is going to go. I'm agreeing with everyone else. I don't see the dollar value of it, particularly when you turn it into our play money that we have down here. It's just too expensive in real world, but I think as an in-game purchase, it's going to make an awful lot of UEC once the game's actually got some kind of mechanic around how you would need to transport these ships. And that could even be as simple as, hey, we've said the Kraken's going to get down to the surface, but you might not be able to do it very easily. So if you want to save a half an hour or an hour of time, you use one of these things. You take your little ships up and down. That's about it.
Yeah. Well, and so you brought up some points that I was going to bring up here in talking about it. And just really quick, because Low G did bring this up earlier when we were watching. Right there is an Argo cargo. If you put more than one Argo cargo on this ship, it's like dividing by zero. 30Ks will go away forever. The verse will collapse. World peace will occur. So do not put more than one Argo cargo on here. I'm telling you now. But with that said, on a serious note, I do have some buying concerns for this, and I'm sorry, my nose is now driving me crazy, but I put the camera back on myself. But this is Valkyrie 2.0, and of course it's made by Anvil, right? You have storage over here, but none of this counts as SCU space. Now, where have I seen that before? Oh, the Valkyrie, of course. So you can already hear people, right, complaining. Why can't I put SCU on here? Because like I said earlier, let's see, the camera is between me and my screen. This space right here is the same size as an A2 or a C2. Like, I mean, you can tell from this picture, the width is about the same. The height's similar, right? So that's a Hercules amount of cargo plus the 400 over here. But to cap it, you don't get to put cargo over there because there's no magnetized grid. Why not? And frankly, if CIG is going to demand a price tag like this, right? I mean, that's more than a Hercules. Why not? So just and Castor right here writes, if the vehicle bay also could carry cargo, the ship would be worth a lot more than what CIG has now. But really, because why? It's already more expensive than a Hercules. And when it goes to release, remember, the concept sale is almost $600. The release sale on the Hercs was $600, and that's on the M2 military version. So I don't think... I kind of feel like CIG is neutering some of its ability, and really, if you own one of these, who cares if you take SCU or vehicles or whatever? I take whatever, What is pretty impressive to me about this, though, comparing it to the Hercules, which in previous fleet planning videos I've done, website plug, I've talked about that you might do a mining operation with in a C2 or something, right? But like, look how much more crew space you've got. Like, this would be a much more comfortable ship. Like, we were talking about a mining outfit to take one of these down with some, rocks, throw a prospector up on the roof. This is a lot more living space than even a Hercules has. Now, and again, a Hercules has a crew of 8. This thing's built to handle a little bit larger of a crew, but also just, it has a crew of 2, but it's got more quarters. It's got more kind of everything. I mean, again, here's the Hercules bridge. Just saying. So this thing is really better than a Hercules. It's more expensive than a Hercules. And I think it's worth it if they up the cargo and allow you to store cargo there. There's no reason they shouldn't. This goes right back to the Valkyrie. That's why I said it's Valkyrie 2.0, right? Why can't you put cargo there? Well, it's a landing ship. You're not supposed to use it as a cargo hauler. Who cares? Dan asked how many functioning toilets. Probably 2, but if we follow the 404 April 1st data, thing's probably got like 10 or 20 toilets on it. So I did like, Logi brought up the Crucible. I think it was Logi who did. But this goes back to what I said at the beginning of the stream too. What about creep, right? Like, does this, if I could pack repair parts on here, does this take out the Crucible? If they make a refining vehicle at some point, does this become better than the Orion? This ship introduces a lot of dangerous capability. And on the one side, I feel like I've almost talked myself into saying this is actually a really good buy because it's massive. It doesn't look like it in all these. This thing is a very big ship. You're not going to be missed flying this thing around. But like I said, it's an in-game purchase for me. So that's kind of my part on that. So we'll see if there's anything else here. If you guys want to add anything, and I'm going to go ahead and look down as well at the comments just here to kind of see what we got.
If I may add something really quick.
Yeah, go for it.
Because I remember you weren't there. They went back to the whole voting for favorite ship concept. And out of the last 4 ships, there was supposed to be actually a small refinery ship that is supposed to technically come out, quote unquote. So, who knows? That might actually end up complementing this thing, which would be hilariously ridiculous. But I think you hit on a better note about neutering, because I'm gonna probably take this a little further back. I understand why they're not doing it anymore, but just seeing it, one of the older I wouldn't say concepts, but because I know they're still working on the current Retaliator's modularity. Because if you remember back then, the reason why a lot of these ships were priced so high and they were justifying it was due to the fact that you got one ship, but you can turn it into 5 different other ships. And then they kind of realized that wasn't going to be the best monetary position for them and ended up breaking up those ships into, a lot of different concepts. Which is kind of unfortunate, especially for the Liberator, just for the sheer fact that if they maintain the modularity or they bring it back in small part due to the Retaliator getting that, because I do have on good, I wouldn't say good authority, but a little leaky, that even the Retaliator is going to get drop pods, as in orbital insertion pods, which might be interesting. At least in concept currently. But yeah, that's kind of the thing is, you're going to be able to kind of equip out or, change the interiors of some of these, or you used to be able to change the interiors of some of these ships. And just like you said, it might have been pretty quick and easy, no-brainer buy, which unfortunately at this point, CIG's kind of pigeonholed themselves going, well, we're going to sell the ship because it's a lot easier to make the ship itself and design it how we want instead of having to force ourselves to make, certain areas become a quote-unquote module and whatever, because they're just not designed that way anymore. Although, then again, look how big and boxy it is.
Well, big and boxy is the envoy. I want to hit a couple things that are down in the comments. First, Wave 1 PTU did go out today, so if you're a subscriber, concierge, all kinds of things like that, you might be able to get in at this point. Dan asks, how much is the Valkyrie in comparison to this? The Valkyrie's like $450, give or take. And this could probably carry one. So, again, speaking of, like I say, in so many ways, it's Valkyrie 2.0. It's overly expensive for what it does. It's got a ton of cargo space that you can't use for SCU. So yeah, and again, in the comment section here, we're getting a lot of great stuff. Could you carry gas on it and make it a refueler? Could you? I mean, this thing really gives you a lot of power. To use it in a whole bunch of ways that it, in a sense, wasn't intended. And in that regard, the price begins to kind of justify it. What I had said earlier when I was talking to you guys during CitizenCon, I actually wish it was a little bigger. I would like to see it be able to carry a Cuddy Black size ship. And I say that again just in the sense that I think as a good money maker, I would have ditched if it were up to me, I would have gotten rid of this. I would have had it be a single deck open that you could land. I'd widen it out a little more so that, like I said, you could park a Cuddy Black or something like that on that, maybe carry 2 of them. The internal cargo space is great, but to me, if they would have done that, it would just be a lot more usable, because now what they're going to have to do, I'm not going to say they didn't plan it this way, but what they're going to have to do is certainly make an even larger version to move medium-sized ships until you get to the Kraken. And the problem is, price-wise, you're almost going to pay for a Kraken. But a point that didn't get made earlier, and I was actually kind of surprised, but it was talked about a little bit in the comments here on the YouTube portion. Krakens are limited. I say most because there is an exception, and he might join us again. Most Kraken owners had to win the F5 wars to get a Kraken. These are not limited. So the really big changes is that CIG just took a huge chunk of business out of Kraken owners. And then again, you guys had brought up like, well, this would be better to take to a surface than a Kraken. Knowing what we know about the 890 jump, taking a Kraken down to the surface is going to cost you like 1 million credits in fuel. If you take a Kraken down to the surface, as we've seen, and this really applies to the privateer model more than it does the actual Kraken, I think, you're parking it and you're leaving it for like a month. You're selling to people. People are going to come to where you are to buy stuff, to sell stuff, to hang out. It's a mobile base more than the Kraken would be a, oh yeah, we're just going to take it down to the surface now, and then we're going to pick it up and take it off. And as Maverick points out here, because he can hear me, there is a way to get a Kraken without winning the F5 wars, and that's drop $4,600 on the Drake pack. But yes, so the kind of point here is that one of these Liberators is really the way you're going to take ships and stuff like that down to the planet. So I do agree. I think you're going to see these in the train, the logistical train for large fleets and things like that. I think the biggest problem I have with it from a marketing standpoint is they always show it as a landing craft. And if there's one thing it's going to do much less than anything else it's ever used for, being a landing craft is going to be what that is. So, you know, the point came up here too. Kishkin brought up, and he brought up something else earlier I wanted to get, so I got to go find it. But with CCUs, it isn't that hard to put one of these in your hangar if you really wanted to, right? You can pick up the CCU, you can chip away at that money, and you can get there if you want. The question was brought up earlier by Castigor, what about M2 owners? And it's painful for me to say this, but I actually would tell you, if you own an M2, upgrade. I do think this is a better choice, and I say that for two reasons. One, you're carrying the same amount of vehicles down, but now you can carry more things. You can have all the same heavy armaments and goodies like that. I imagine this will actually be easier to land on a planet than a Hercules is because of the dippy nose problem. And this is going to be the hotness, right? Like the Herc was the hotness, and I said this in a lot of my buying guides as well. Once the Herc is no longer the hotness anymore, only dedicated cargo people are going to buy them, and they're going to buy the C2. Right here, if you have an M2, I would put serious consideration into buying the CCU.
And it's only $55.
Right, and that's a part of it, right? You've already put in the hard part. So, yeah, look at dropping that. Get the CCU. My advice would be buy the Warbond CCU. Actually, you don't even need to buy the Warbond CCU. If your Hercules already has LTI, get the CCU, even if you melt it and throw it back in your buyback. But this is one I would keep alive because the price is going to go up. So you buy that Warbond CCU, and you're going to get a Liberator at the lowest possible cost. I don't own an M2. So if I guess I would put it like this. If I owned an M2, I would CCU it to one of these. If you own a C2, no, keep the C2. And if you own an A2, I guess probably melt it and get one of these if you're actually looking for cargo. But if you own an A2, it's because you want a bomb. And I just have a really strong, vindicated hunch that there will be another bomber coming. So maybe you should melt it. The question here, Liberator or Perseus? Hands down, Luigi, Perseus. So, John Boyd, it would be 55 on the Warbond CCU. The credit CCU is going to be 75, I think. We got the question from John Boyd as well. What about the Banu Merchantman? Or are you trying to tell me it's 75 from the Merchantman? I'm not following you necessarily in the comments here, but I would keep the Merchantman. Hands down, I would keep the Merchantman. It's going to be way better than this thing in the long run, if cargo and logistics is your thing. Okay, from the BMM. Gotcha. T-Jack, we did weigh in on the BMM. We'll circle back a little bit to it, though, probably at the very end of the stream. But yeah, so that's the Liberator. I'm trying to see if we've got any more just, questions and comments, stuff like that. Big Finesse, yeah, these ships cost so much. It's... So this year, and in the past, this isn't the first time they've done this. CitizenCon is now in October. And mind you guys, for those of you with a limited budget, looking to spend big or pick up something big for all of this, here is my big consideration to you to think about. Unless you're trying to pull one with LTI at these bargain basement prices as far as the concept war bond sale goes, IAE is around the corner, right? Last 2 years ago, and kind of going back in more recent history, IAE, the annual sale, and CitizenCon kind of fall together. So we get these big releases. But IAE almost always has a sub $100 LTI offering. The Nomad was last year's. And then there's usually a really big ship, right? Like the Liberator. Or last year, the Perseus. So it's really interesting to me that CIG, and do not believe it's a coincidence, that the $200-ish ship rolled out, the big 400 hype happened, people blew their load on that, and then CIG hits you with another, or for twice that, you can get yourself one of these, right? And then some of you guys were like, dang, but I got to get the concept one and save the money on both, so I guess I'll buy them both today. Yeah, that was intentional. But with that said, no CIG. Never buy things until after CitizenCon, because you know they're going to roll stuff out. And I wouldn't buy anything, except maybe CCUs, if you don't, especially if you're war bond conscious. Wait until IAE, because there are almost certainly going to be new ships that come out in IAE. One of them will probably be under 100, because CIG also knows we need to buy a whole bunch of LTI tokens. A preview of a video that's going to be coming out sooner rather than later, preparing yourself for IAE. If you are a gray market buyer, now is the time to purchase LTI tokens. Actually, it's probably past us now because people are going to be buying CCUs and getting tokens. But don't wait till next month to buy LTI tokens on the gray. They're going to go up in price. So get them now, because get them now. But yes, the prices on all these are going to go up. Your merchantman's going to be over 1,000 when that thing releases. It's going to be like 890 priced. So, whatever you do, don't touch the merchantman in your hangar if you've got one there. The Liberator, that's going to go up in price when it has a release sale. We already know the 400 is straight to flight ready. People are seeing them in the PTU. So that'll come out in 315. The price is locked on that. You're not going to make money by buying that today. Boozy's willing to sell blood, so if anyone's paying for plasma, hit him up. But yes, IAE this year's going to be pretty crazy. So, and that's kind of what I'm saying, T-Jack, is we still have IAE. So I would expect a good number of things to come out at that still, especially because, again, CIG's just rolled out 2 big money ships right now. You know they're going to roll out another big money ship, but the small inventory is still going to be there. So they know how to get in that wallet. I said it a long time ago. Chris Roberts, he's your he's your new drug dealer. If you don't want your kids on drugs, get them into Star Citizen. Hopefully Mrs. Led did not hear that. All right. Children only need 1 kidney. Oh, that was good. Yeah, I mean, so John Boyd brings up here, and this is going to be true with your Liberator, this is going to be true with all your big ships, a lot of them are going to be hangar queens for quite a while. But, and Cassigar asks a great question here about IA getting more crazy each year just due to the number of ships. Not quite. The big rake sale is the new releases. Because you've got buyers like me, I've got the ships I want. You've got buyers like Maverick, he's got the ships he wants. I'm going to ask my panel here. I'm motioning to them like on my screen that you guys can't see. But you guys tell me, what are your IAE predictions?
A lot of hurting wallets and a few breakups.
Oh, definitely a few breakups. A lot of end relationships are going to happen during that.
I must admit, I prepared my wallet during the year, and I've made chunks of purchases as we've gone along, so it doesn't appear like November just destroyed my bank account.
I also have a new keyboard, so I can break the F5 button. So yeah, we're good on that. But yeah, no, for the most part, at least for me, I'm just always curious about what the new kind of ships are coming out. Sure, there are some ships that I'm thinking of getting that are in the current catalog, but at this point, I just own the ships that are already of interest to me. I would like to turn some of them into LTIs, and most likely will be, picking up LTI tokens for that type of stuff. But for the most part, unless there's a really big pull, like a brand new ship that rolls out, that I'm going, this is definitely something I want to use. I'm kind of done spending in Star Citizen, to be honest.
Yeah, I have to agree with G on that one. I have everything I want, except for like the 400, which popped up today, which I bought a CCU, immediately melted it, so now I have it. When I decide to drop money to buy it, there's really nothing left that I desire to buy. And it's like I've been around here long enough that I'm already concierge and stuff. I have plenty of money put into the game that I wish. So if I want something big, just melt what I got, buy it, melt it, use a buyback token, get back my game package, and then I continue to play. Really, really save yourself some money. Plan out what you want a long time before you do it. Also, stay away from the gray market, in my opinion, because you buy that Banu for $200 off the gray back in whatever. When you hit that $800 mark, you push yourself into concierge or that next concierge tier. That's an extra $200 that could have gone towards it that it's now not going to. That's the only big warning I have for the gray market, other than watch who you buy stuff from.
Yeah. Well, and I always try to warn people too on the concierge thing. You don't care about concierge till you get close to concierge. And if you wanted that paint job they showed off on the 400 today, that's a concierge perk. So it kind of matters at times. And even on top of that, being concierge is going to help you when it comes to what I was saying before too about that IAE sale, right? Concierge, you get longer, you get past the month to buy. So most of us concierge members have after IAE to choose what we're going to spend on and get the prices that are there today. So that's my shameless plug for concierge. Though, as I always disclaim when I talk about spending money on Star Citizen, don't spend money you don't have. Don't fall for the hype. The other great reason waiting to buy one of these till after IAE is the new impulse portion of this is totally not going to matter to you. It's actually kind of funny. I had a cybersecurity seminar all week, and we were talking about the psychology of like victims to cybercrime and pressure. The fear that you're going to miss out and all of that are critical things in that. So just as an aside, don't let that be you. Sleep on it. don't buy anything today. For sure, think about it in the long run. But
If I may tag on to that one real quick. Sorry I didn't think I was going to cut you off there. I apologize. Join the Discord. Shameless plug. Led's got a Discord. Join it. If you're interested in the game, more than likely someone here has a ship that you're interested in. If it's in game already, throw up, hey, does anybody have this? Can we go flying? Hop in it, fly with them a bit, see if you really like it before you buy it. And as you've seen today with the Banu Merchant Man, things change so quickly and so much, and it'll be years before you see some of these ships in games. So really wait till it's in game before you really drop any big money, because it may not be the same ship 6 months from now, let alone when it finally gets put into game. That's all I got.
Yeah. Which is I'm showing on screen here, and then we'll get to my team there. But if you go to the leadnap.com, down at the bottom, got the Facebook, Patreon, YouTube, and the Discord link that'll bring you to the Discord server. Awesome community of people that even if I'm not available to kind of help you out, there are plenty of disciples of the Leadnap CCU system and fleet planning system to really kind of help you on that path. And one of the things I can't say enough from my own experience in Star Citizen is try before you buy. Seriously, people have the ships. Ask them to let you borrow it. Rent it in the game if it's available on the rental, but do just try it before you buy it, because it might look really cool in the pictures and you might really like it. Some first reports of people with 400s that have taken them into the verse, they fly terrible. In fact, on my Discord, there's a Spectrum thing to vote to help CIG to improve that flight model, because it's that rough. With that said, we still need to give away, as it's getting dark here. I would turn on the light, but that actually creates the weird moire effect thing, so I can't turn on the light. I have to get a different light. But we do have our lead paint club, and I'm actually excited here. So we can do the Dark Peak one that's given away, but we also have the Leadnap lead paint club. CCAG, I really want to talk about the Endeavor now. Why are you going to throw that at me? To give away. And the reason I say both is we had some really good submissions earlier. So with that said, Murdax, you are going to be the proud owner of the 3 paint pack. But with your CitizenCon led me to this stream, even though I know that's a lie, because I know you've been around here. I recognize your name. See, you come hang out all the time. I recognize your name. What's that like? But Dwayne Holloway with the content was a little heavy. I appreciated that one too. So you kind of got runner-up status, and you're going to be enjoying a Timberline Hornet paint. So do make sure you head on over to the Leadnap Gaming Discord channel. Shoot me a DM from there, and we'll sort out delivery on that. For everybody that won the Squadron cards Tuesday, they are getting mailed out. So unfortunately, you can't tell, there's not crutches behind me anymore, but I can drive again. I can get to the post office, so I'll get those mailed out. With that said, anybody, any last closing thoughts? How did, earlier we kind of talked about CitizenCon, but now that we've kind of talked over the various ships that have come out, we've talked about CitizenCon itself, any last thoughts? I'm going to go ahead and start with Logi.
I think I've kind of said everything I wanted to say, and just kind of reiterating again. I really did like the change of pace from just a bunch of showcases of previous CitizenCons, where again, we kind of starting out of the crashed javelin wreck and the random sandworm that comes out to people finding the location, not even that script happening. It was a lot better, or at least in my mind, a lot more unique to know the back end of how Star Citizen is getting built and how kind of far we've come and how further we're gonna have to go. Because as a long-term backer, when we got promised even a completed game by 2016, or and I back in 2014, I'm like, yeah, we're gonna get Squadron 42 soon. Everything's been great. Look at all this stuff, and it's just been years. So it's really nice to actually finally see some, the back end stuff of what's going on. So yeah, it's kind of my thoughts.
All right, Martin.
We've talked about so much it's not funny, but we've actually skipped over one of the big things I thought they talked about, which was the reputation and how that affected your gameplay so that camp they showed. The 3 different scenarios of liked, neutral, and completely despised. There were some really interesting elements in that, and there's a lot of things we talked about during the stream, during the convention, when there was entities like under the building, how they sorted that out, how they're organizing it. Someone was talking about, yeah, I'm going to spend hours building bases just to have somebody bomb it from orbit. The reputation and those base building entities we didn't really talk about in the last hour or so, but they were fairly impressive things to see come along. As far as the back end stuff, I already said at the start, I'm really happy to have seen that they've now got implementation of some of these new tools, and you know what, they were that boring to listen to. I've forgotten the name of some of those tools, but the implementation of them is amazing. And as far as the ship progression we saw, 400 is a good step in the right direction. Just wish it flew better. The Liberator is going to be amazing, and the Banu merchantman just needed the love. So yeah, all in all, it was a good CitizenCon.
And Dietrich.
My closing thought would have to be you don't have to spend anything more than just your game package to get in. Everything will be available as UEC or in game later on, so don't fret. Just get out there, have fun, have people to play with. That will really make the game, and just kind of take it easy. Stay healthy, drink more water. That's me.
Yep.
Oh, sorry. And the 100i is the best ship in the game. Or is it the 125C?
125A? Oh yeah.
Yeah. I am a huge 125A promoter in that regard. So, as Martine brought up there, right? I thought some of the panels were really good. I enjoyed the tech panel. One of the problems I had, and I'm going to be diving in to kind of sort out, present hopefully a more digestible version of some of the technical background stuff they talked about. One thing I noticed in a lot of the comments on Twitch itself that seemed to surprise people, that's what the CitizenCon panels are. They always are. If you go back and watch the recordings of CitizenCon's past, it's all deep technical talk. It's the opportunity for the different developing teams to come out and really tell you the nuts and bolts of what they're doing. So, just my 2 cents on that part. But, oh, did Dark... Oh, okay, hold on. Dark has finally made it.
Hey.
What are your thoughts on CitizenCon?
On the parts that I saw, I was pretty happy with it. There wasn't anything super far-reaching that they were promising, so I was happy to see that. And I'm not quite sure what you guys have discussed before I got here, so I'm sorry if I'm recapping things that you've already talked about. But my main issues I had with it was this seeming diversion away from procedurally designed and created stations and outposts. That really kind of worries me. It seems like it's going back towards more of a artist-focused, hand-built, bespoke system. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yep. Unfortunately, I clicked a really bad link in there, and Chris Roberts' annoying audio blasted over while you were talking. But that was something I did have a note to kind of talk about that we did really gloss over in our discussion here today, and that was yes. A lot of what they were showing us today was earlier this morning was very not procedural generation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a pretty major concern, because it's not to say what they're building isn't incredible.
Oh, it looks great. And
But-
I think we talked about that earlier too,
Yeah.
right? If you're building a single player game with a fixed sandbox or map, perfect. But with the number of systems, planets, moons, outposts, and stations that they've got on their docket to make, you can't be doing them by hand like that. There's no way they can keep up.
Yeah. We will be passing our merchantmen on to our great grandchildren by the time the third system gets here, if that's the speed
Yeah.
they're building it with. And hopefully, at the same time, a note I had made early on when we were looking in their just 3D rendering and everything like that, we were seeing that they've done a really good job building these various asset packs, and their just ability to copy and paste.
Right. Clip them together.
Right. So it is really nice to see that they've found a way to speed it up really, 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 really well.
Mhm.
But it's not fast enough to be procedural, and for the verse to be as big as the verse is supposed to be, for the verse to be big enough for our exploration ships to matter, it needs to be procedural. So I am a little worried about that. And
Well, I did have another thought on that same topic, Led, if you don't mind.
no, by all means.
What I'm hoping, and this is pure speculation, is that they're taking their time with the hand-built bespoke systems or stations and outposts right now, with all of the artist input, as a way of designing those different packs, if you will, texture packs, material packs, the different models that they need, and then putting a few of them together by hand, and then hopefully that opens up into Pioneer and player-based building. And I would be okay if most stations were, very similar, and then the real custom stuff is really rewarded to the player when you build your own and you purchase those different packs in game, right? So if they're doing all this hand-holding right now in their creation just to design some really high-quality packs that eventually we will have access to build our own outposts and towns and whatever, then I would be quite okay with it, as long as they're not making everything this long, from here forward.
Yep. Another important point to bring here is that we usually do not see Squadron 42 things at CitizenCon. Rigadin brings up that he was let down a little that we didn't see a lot of that. And sometimes we get a little bit of it, but typically they release a lot of that stuff in December.
Yeah.
So I would look in December for more of that, and hopefully, let us hope. I mean, we saw a lot of progress today is one of the things I was and was not excited about, because on the one side, 2 years ago, we learned about quantum, we learned about server meshing. Today, we learned about quantum, we learned about server meshing. I really hope next year we don't learn about quantum, learn about server meshing. Right. But with that said, the game has, in 2 years, has come a long way. It was on Discord earlier. We were kind of joking that, and it might have been on here too. We were mentioning that in 4.0 you're going to be able. Pyro is coming in 4.0, and here we are 2 years later with good news, everybody. Pyro is coming in 4.0.
Right.
So, we've had a lot of patches since then, though, but not 4.0. And so hopefully we're going to see some 4.0 coming soon. And hopefully we start seeing more of this. And what I did notice in the background, to give CIG credit that they deserve, we did see in a lot of their tech panels building block tech. A lot of the tech they've spent a lot of time building. So I do feel better that we're seeing that, and we have seen rapid progress. I would have liked to have seen some actual jump point footage today. That would have been nice. But the jump point areas themselves are pretty cool. So yeah. But that was CitizenCon.
I feel like we're getting closer. But then again, we feel that way every year, right?
You know what?
I don't know.
My biggest letdown for this, though, and I can't decide if maybe I'm being hypocritical when I say that I was really happy with CitizenCon really focusing more on what we have now, what's coming just around the corner, and not telling us, hey, 10 years from now, guys, we're going to add this in too. But it does really concern me. One of the things I expected to see, that we were supposed to actually watch on this live stream, there was no keynote speech by Chris Roberts.
No, there wasn't. And I was just going through my email right now, seeing if there was an itinerary for CitCon, because
it was in there. It's in there.
I had this feeling that it's very underwhelming compared to previous CitCons. Like, there just was not that much content that we got access to by comparison. Yeah, we got 2 ships that have been long awaited, right? The 400i has been almost a meme of anticipation. The A2, whether people have it or not, everybody wanted to see it blow some things up, right? But in the middle of Sitcom, they released the PTU Wave 1, which has access to both those ships, while they continued putting on segments. And it seems odd because you know a huge chunk of your audience is going to leave your stream to log in and play with those new ships. That I thought was a really strange choice. It was almost like a diversion, like, shit, we're really content light this year. Let's just throw them some spaceships in the middle of the stream and hopefully they won't notice that we don't really have much to talk about, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely a concern I had, because like I had said at the beginning, and I'm trying to decide if I'm being hypocritical in that, right? On the one side, I was very happy that they weren't fluffing us on that.
Right.
But at the same time, one, right, virtual SitCon, they're usually 2 days long. Why is this one, and you weren't here for me when I said this earlier, and for everybody that wasn't here then as well. Someone in the comments had mentioned this felt like an 8-hour long Inside Star Citizen.
Yes, it did.
And it absolutely did, and in part because there was no breakup. You know, when you go to SitCon, they have the panels, and they make it difficult because they do them on top of each other. To pack that content in, and you kind of have to pick and choose, and you got to go watch the recordings later. As a YouTube producer, SitCon's huge for me because I get like a month or 2 of content out of CitizenCon, because you got to break down those panels, and there's 8 or 9 of them. So that's content. And some of the panels today were 15 minutes long. And
well, and Led, you're in production, right? And editing. And if you look at this presentation from that standpoint, regular SitCon, when they do have their breaks between segments, they've got really awesome cinematics or a story or a trailer or an advertisement that their team put together from CIG. This year, they used community created content, which was cool, but that was all their filler, was community content with like 2 commercials in there. So yes, they had to curate all the submissions and choose them, but you can definitely tell from this year's pre-recorded SitCon, there is substantially less hours put into this production than we're used to getting worth of their actual work. And that just kind of makes me wonder why. What are they doing instead of this?
Well, and I was about to say we might be eating our hat here soon enough, right? Because in December, what could very well happen, and I am going to put a disclaimer on this. I should almost type this out and put it on screen so that it can't be mistaken. I should also probably not put myself on the screen when I say this, but I do not have an inside leg to CIG. I am not telling. This is not a leak. This is not a. I know something you don't. I'm just saying that the light content, particularly in video production content, and art that we saw at CitizenCon this year, might be because the beta for Squadron 42 Episode 1 could happen in December. We're in the timeline. They said they were going to release it. They've not given us a pushback or even talked about it. So there is a possibility that those people have just been so busy with that, and that they were like, we're not going to gum that up to get CitizenCon content out. We're just going to get this done. If that's the case, fantastic. I will be the first to come back on here on a live stream and say, you know what, I'm glad they did that, because they need to deliver on something that people have paid for. But with that said, it was very underwhelming I liked the community video content. There was not a Leadnap Gaming one. I wish they would have mentioned they were going to do more than 15. But
right.
That would have been a good thing to announce early on. They probably would have got more submissions. I was up against a time deadline. Real world work was kicking in when that contest was announced, and so it was just one of the.
I meant to compliment you too. I know you worked really hard to get it done on time for the stream, but your 3D avatar that you created for your split screen right there looks great. I mean, that looks like a real person. So you did a good job on creating that avatar, bud.
Don't tell people this isn't what I really look like. They don't need to know that.
But hey, to address, oh man, who was it? Boozy. Yeah, a lot of these guys are still working at home with CIG, but one thing that I've noticed from the years of following this development is, even if they're not releasing content to us as quickly as we'd like, CIG is always working on something. And this production did not seem like they were working on CitCon, which means they're working on something else. I'm just really curious what that is. It could be like what Led said, right? It could be, the new PvP stuff. They could be getting ready for the end of the year sale. I don't know, but they sure as hell did not put their time and attention to CitCon this year. That much is obvious.
Yeah, and in previous years, I mean, look at last year, right? The Jax clips they gave us, right? We all complained how short they were, how compared to other years, right? Like,
right?
Are you serious? Like, you're trimming down the. Those are some of people's favorite parts, and I think, again, in fairness, they might be doing more of those. You know, there's a lot we don't know that's behind the scenes, but it is concerning to me. And really, to come back on point here, the biggest point for me is you had a digital sitcom. You didn't have an event space. There was no reason to make it one day. There was no reason to make it an 8-hour-long straight shot. And I know I said this earlier, and it's going to come off like me complaining, but I've had very little to eat today. You didn't have a chance to run to the bathroom. And if you were one of the people that made a video and submitted it, you couldn't leave between panels because your video might have shown up, and who doesn't want to see their video live? As a video producer, I can tell you that part, and to the question about them working from home on that too, you guys are, as much as Dark tells you I'm an awesome 3D avatar, this is my office. This is where all the videos are made. I can do it. There's an adaptation that comes with it, but let's be honest, they've been working remote for over a year. I'm not trying to be harsh to them about that. I'm just trying to say it did seem very low. And yes, Chris Roberts opened up CitizenCon with a 5-minute, glad you all could make it. We've got exciting panels here.
But that is so not a keynote.
Right. And then we got to the 5 minutes at the end. And I want to take you guys back. CitizenCon 2949, right? 2019, 2 years ago. We'd already seen the Carrack. But they opened CitizenCon. It was exciting. They revealed the character to us for the first time. They kind of did stuff right. The cat was out of the bag. I mean, by the time, and this was a 2-day event too. So by that night, even I was busy chopping the footage that they had given us, talking about the possibilities. And then at the end of CitizenCon, to close it out, we had it like an hour long. They did the mission on Microtech and really showed off the Carrack. They went to the jump point. It was awesome. Savi Castro, yes. CitizenCon is over. Apparently, you missed the whole thing. And in part, yeah, how could you miss? It's usually 2 days long. So I was very underwhelmed. I had high expectations because of the smaller event schedule. I wonder if I'm gonna go.
And we got a calling all devs and Inside Star Citizen on steroids. That's really what we got.
Right.
I mean, we've seen Cloud Tech, we've seen Planet Tech, we've seen Rocks and Plants, and there was really nothing new unless you really want to learn how to create a video card driver, or you're really into audio. I mean, those are the only 2 segments that seemed like it was new information. Other than that, a couple ship tours. I mean, you know.
Yep. Well, and give me just a second. Dark, just ignore the thing you're getting sent here. I just need to save that quickly. You know, I'm gonna.
Oh my God, they make a cream for that, Led.
So, yeah, see, it's all popping up now because I opened up Outlook. So right here, this is their schedule, and I had mentioned before this all started, I was telling people, I was like, I'm concerned because this is the appointment that CIG, like, you download, that'll put it on your calendar automatically for you, and it ended at 4 o'clock. And I was like, because when you opened up the schedule for the event, you had the opening, and then the live in the verse from 9:05 to like 11:10 or whatever. Ship talk, the Vulcan, the Planet Tech, server meshing, sent to space. But again, notice systematic gameplay was going to be this long, which is kind of weird because it's one we've already had, right? And then look, it was the closing keynote speech that was on the schedule on the website, which is why this stream began when it began, because we were intending to catch Chris Roberts' speech, and it didn't happen. And it turns out they actually went 30 minutes over on this timeline because we started at 4:30 and they ended about 4:40. But yeah, I mean, that's...
And yeah, Rigged, that Homestead stuff was really cool to see. But it wasn't new. We've seen that in snippets through Inside Star Citizen and Calling All Devs, you know, over time. But it was neat to see it. I mean, as a Pioneer owner, I'm excited about those building blocks and being able to put something together, but they're still not really talking about giving that to us yet. They're still using it in-house. But you're right, it was neat to see.
Yeah, I mean, right there on the screen, we just saw some, you know, we're seeing footage of CitizenCon past, and we were seeing Chris Roberts giving the speech. So,
yeah.
And it's funny. I wasn't going to make this a public thing, but when we were doing our watch party and CitizenCon began, and Chris got on and said, "It's really good to be in front of the camera again for you guys." And I had said, you know, you could do it whenever you want.
Right. Yeah, you said that in Discord.
Yeah, I was like, this isn't like being in person where you need us to all come together so that we can, you know.
I don't know. Maybe Jared is guarding all the cameras. He's got armed guards up there. He's like, don't let Chris in.
But it goes back to one of those points. We're not seeing Chris in front of the camera. And that's always a concern of mine. And I've said this in the past. And if you watch the content, I have regularly given him credit when he does show up in front of the camera again. but he really needs to be in front of the camera more.
Well, and we didn't see Sandy this year. We've seen her the
No,
past
yeah.
few years every time.
Yeah, right there. There he was. See, and look at the happy people all clapping. They were very excited. There he is again, and his signature all black Steve Jobs. But yeah,
Now that you point that out, that is weird that on the CIG website for CitCon, they're showing video clips of previous CitCons, not even this one. Yeah.
But with all that said, yeah, we are coming to a close ourselves. I have had a lot more screen time today than Chris Roberts did. Actually, I probably had more than Jared did. So I'm going to take that I did a pretty dang good job today. We had some great reveals. As I mentioned,
tell them to send you a check.
yeah. As I mentioned before, if it's a little slow on here, but today, big things. We did launch the website. Things are coming soon, like our merch store. We're just right around the corner with it, guys. Like I said, it was actually ready to go. They didn't set a couple things up right, so I have to get back with the merchandiser to get things working correctly so that you guys can get it. But I can also tell you that Maverick, who was in here earlier, has been doing some fantastic artwork that's going to appear on some of that merch in the future. Hopefully some of Marantine's art can show up on some of that merch down the road too. And Frapp, I know you're watching out there too. I'm looking forward to having some of your backgrounds here. For those of you that didn't like my office decor, we'll go back to Cam for me to say this, and you want, feel free to head on over to patreon.com, head on over to leadnap.com. Yeah, see, it's not going to show the camera, but it is going to have our awesome Lead's Legion logo there. And support the channel so that I can buy a green screen and you don't have to look at my office.
You need more LEDs.
Yeah, and so I can get proper lighting. I mean, you guys saw the window here is brutal.
And you need more quote-unquote airsoft guns on the wall.
Oh, I knew I was forgetting something.
I keep telling you about that inflatable pool, man.
Also, just throw...
Like the web publishing for dummies on the desk there?
Also, just for those that want to know, if we can get enough money, Splattergoo from Dark Peak Entertainment has said he will do interpretive dance behind me.
Yes,
for
he did.
your entertainment. And I don't think he's asking that much. So head on over to Patreon, support the channel. You can also support the channel by hitting that subscribe button right there-ish.
I mean, let's be honest, the real courage in that isn't Splattergoo doing the interpretive dance. It's the fact you're willing to be in front of him while he's doing it. That's bravery, sir.
There's no delay on my side. I can see the camera, so I have pseudo warning of what's going on behind me. But yes, that is the real bravery. And that's the sort of bravery and courage and things I do for your entertainment on this channel. So make sure if you want to see some more of that here-ish, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Make sure to share this with your friends. I look forward to talking with all of you that have been commenting here in Discord, where you don't have to be in Lead's Legion to talk with me. I had a great time today. Hopefully, though, CitizenCon was better than it was worse. We got to see new ships today. Some of y'all's wallets are hurting. I'll tell you right now, what I'm asking for, you can be a gunner in Lead's Legion for $3 a month. I mean, you would have to be in the Legion for a couple years before you're approaching what CIG is asking from you. So if your wallet hurts, we have those options, but don't forget, we have better ranks available, like our limited edition Legatus. So those have been shameless plugs from me. I look forward to talking with all of you
here's a shameless plug that might get me banned, just so you know. But after seeing this mighty impressive facial hair you've got going, Lead, I really think that maybe Lead's Legion upper ranks may have a vote on how to force you to shave your facial hair for the end of the year sale.
You know what? If we can fill in those upper ranks to the point that it's worthwhile to have a vote and not just you voting and Maverick voting.
Damn it.
I might
see through to the core of me, sir.
Might be willing to entertain that. I look very different without a beard. So, yes. But with that said, I hope you guys all had a great time. I look forward to talking to you all on Discord to continue discussing CitizenCon. In the coming weeks / days, hopefully, we're going to have some videos breaking things down. Like I said, the next video coming out on the channel is going to be on the 400i. Feels super weird to say that. You might want to hold off buying one until that video comes out, is all I'm saying. But as we saw with the Liberator discussion, I can start off telling you it's a terrible deal, and then by the end of it, I could be telling half of you that, no, you really should go buy it. So do stay tuned, because you're going to want to hear the points I'm going to make in that to make some educated decisions on your part. As I mentioned before, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and as always, I will catch you all next time.